Hi there, everybody. My name is Carrie Bailey, and I've been asked to share with you a few uh, pieces of my story and my experience as I've learned how to use essential oils to really positively affect mood and emotions in my house. And I'm really excited to spend a few minutes today with you just sharing some of what I have learned. Before we get started with that, I wanted to share with you this uh, there are a few really fantastic resources available to us through the Share Success group, Natalie Goddard's group. They have created an Essential Emotions Facebook page that you are welcome and invited to join. And just to join the discussion, a safe place to ask your questions about different strategies, different protocols, and to get some answers and share your own stories and experience as well. So that is a fantastic resource that if this is something that interests you, I really recommend that you take a look at that. And then also at sharesuccess.com in their library, there is a teaching script for an essential emotions class in there that is completely free to use, so that if this is something that just speaks to your heart and that you're interested in sharing the hope, healing, and empowerment that can be found here with others, you can go and download this script and be able to just teach your very own essential emotions class just like that. And you'll also find that in there they have a PowerPoint, a complete PowerPoint for the Essential Emotions class available for free download as well. So that is a fantastic opportunity for each of you. So we'll start by just asking the question, would you like to be more happy and connected and empowered? I'm pretty sure that every single one of you is saying, yes, who wouldn't, right? So this is the beauty of what we have with doTERRA's essential oils, are these amazing chemistries that really are able to affect our mood and our emotions, and we're able just to choose a desired chemistry outcome that we're looking for and apply those oils and feel that lift in our mood. So I'm going to start by just sharing with you a little bit of my own personal journey and story. This is my little boy. His name is Brigham. Isn't he adorable? Oh my goodness, I love this kid so much. So he is 10 years old now, but back when I was pregnant with him, I went through some pretty significant emotional trauma during my pregnancy with him. And that really had an effect on his development. He ended up being an emergency C-section, which was my first time that had happened. He's my fifth baby. So ended up being an emergency C-section. He was born with a hole in his heart, and my breast milk didn't come in, and it turned out that he was allergic to formula and just had a really tough start to his little life. His whole first year was just crying nonstop, and because he was just in so much digestive distress in addition to emotional distress, just very colicky and upset all of the time. And around the age when your typical baby starts to recognize that there's a difference between strangers and people that he knows, uh, it's a typical transition that babies go through, where they enter a stranger anxiety stage. And for Brigham, what this looks like was he was paralyzed by it. He would, when people would come up and want to talk to him or touch him, with his bright blonde hair and his rosy cheeks and his bright blue eyes, he attracted all sorts of attention, and people would come up and want to say hi to him. And he would literally turn his face into my shoulder. His whole body would become rigid. He would begin to hyperventilate. And it was absolutely terrifying for him, which for me as his mother was heartbreaking to feel that pain that he was experiencing. And I would just whisper into his ear, Mama's got you, you're safe. When you're with mama and somebody says hi, you can smile at them and say hi. And I would try to talk him through what a healthy, happy response looked like. And that really was the only strategy that I had for the first several years of his life. Um, as he got a little bit older, the anxiety broadened out into the new social experiences that he was having. Starting to go to school was just so crippling for him. It was very, very difficult. He always experienced a lot of anxiety, a lot of crying, a lot of just nervousness when it was time to go to school. And I swear that the whole reason that I was introduced to doTERRA was an answer to the prayers that I was offering in behalf of my little boy Brigham, who was just struggling so deeply. Um, I was introduced to doTERRA during his kindergarten year, about halfway through, and as I got my essential oils and started learning more about them, I was led to a website that at that time had a menu of all of the different essential oils with a doctor. Her name is Susan Lawton. She's absolutely brilliant. Um, but there were just recordings on all of the different essential oils of her talking for like 20-25 minutes about every way that she had ever used lavender, for example, in her practice, in essential oils, which at that point in time, she was probably 30 or 40 years into her essential oils practice. Um, she is just amazing. So she would talk about lavender or about wild orange or about peppermint. And I was just voracious in my learning. I was so hungry to learn about these. And within my first week of listening to her and having my essential oils, my whole perspective really just exploded. I had known that essential oils had some amazing immune boosting properties, and that really was my entire intention, at least my conscious intention, when I first was introduced to the oils. But as I listened to her, my imagination was just lit on fire with possibility for the emotional possibilities with these essential oils, particularly for my son Brigham. So it was towards the end of that first week that I had all of my 10 little starter oils, and I actually had them on a little plate that I would carry around the house, and they would slide on the plate as I was carrying them from room to room to put different oils on my different kids. And anyway, it was a Friday morning, and for Brigham at his school, Fridays were phonogram testing days. And so they were always very high stress, very high anxiety mornings for Brigham as he was getting ready to go to school. So at that point in time, it was just a tough morning. I had made him a little homemade pizza that had some spinach puree on it, and he just thought the pizza looked entirely too green. He was really grouchy about that. He was needing to take a few minutes to sit down and review his phonograms, and he was really grouchy and upset about that. And he was just in a bear of a mood. And so I had a piece of my strategy at that point in time was just letting him know that Brigham, mommy space is happy space. And if you want to be in mommy space, I want you to be out here with me, but you've got to be happy and kind if you want to be with mommy. And if you just feel like you need to be angry and upset, feel free to do so back in your bedroom. And at that point, he had come to a place in his development where he was typically able, once he was presented with that option, he was typically able to calm himself down and pull himself together to at least be pleasant to be around. But this particular morning, he was already back in his room for a second time and just having a really rough go of it. And so as he went back to his room for the second time, all of the sudden, I just had a brand new thought, which was, I've got to change his environment. And that was a very exciting, and it was an empowering thought that was new to me. I had new tools. So I turned on some fun Piano Guys music and um, looked at my little plate of essential oils and thought, what essential oil would be good to help him out with his mood? And I just had the instinct that peppermint was a good one to try. And so he came out of his room and was coming down the hallway towards me, and I just opened up my bottle of peppermint and dabbed it on my hands. And as he just didn't even see it coming, but as he approached me, I just stuck my hands down the front of his shirt and I scruffed his chest with the peppermint oil. And he initially was irritated that my hands were down his shirt. And so he was like, making grouchy noises. And then all of a sudden that grouchy noise and face turned into giggling, I would say in the matter of about 10 seconds. And I just kind of stood back and watched him in a little bit of disbelief and awe. And he disappeared and went off into the other room and came back into the kitchen with two lightsabers, and we started having a fun lightsaber fight with the music going, and he was laughing, I was laughing, in a little bit of disbelief. And then he set his lightsaber down and he went over to the table and he grabbed his little pizza that had looked entirely too green a few minutes earlier and started to eat it. And then I asked him if he was ready to do his phonogram practice. And he said yes. And so I went over to the drawer to pull out his phonogram cards so that I could start going over them with him. And before I even had them out, he had sat down with his paper and pencil and started administering to himself his little practice test. And he went, CH, and he wrote it down, and then and wrote down the letter R. And I was just seriously dumbfounded. It was truly remarkable. And so that was my first experience. And I was just thinking, there is no way that peppermint just did that. And since then, 4.5 years later, here I am, and I have had probably hundreds of experiences similar to that. And it still surprises me every single time. It just is an amazing, amazing gift. But I want to let you know that what I've learned through this process is that essential oils are an amazing piece of the strategy, but they're not the entire strategy itself. A really solid diet is so important. An uplifting environment is so important. Proper rest, proper exercise, those things are so important. Proper stimulation for the mind, where there's just good, nourishing activities happening for the mind, rather than the mindless life that so many of our kids live these days, where they just are sitting in front of electronics. These are all really important pieces of the strategy as well. But I'll tell you what, essential oils are just incredible in their ability to tip a positive strategy just over the top. So since that day back in whatever year that was, 4.5 years ago, I have gone on to receive my holistic wellness coaching certification. I've become a certified nutrition microscopist. And most recently, I graduated from the Muscle Testing Academy, where we learned how to facilitate emotional and energetic healing through muscle testing. And for me, this really is just like the magic combination, that mind, body, and spirit, wellness and vibrancy, knowledge and understanding. And I live to help other people find resolution to the challenges that they're facing in their lives. Um, so this today is just an invitation to be your own best advocate and to claim the gift of wellness, which really is what doTERRA is all about. So one of the things that I just know with such certainty at this point is that this concept that we have in our culture of dissecting a being down into individual parts and pieces and trying to treat and address individual parts and pieces of a being is just, it's not effective. It's not successful. Really, our being is made up of a body and a spirit and a mind that all work together. They are inseparable. You cannot separate out any of those three pieces of your being, and that all of them require the right tools. They require the right nourishment in order to operate optimally. And then when you bring all of that together, you end up with total being wellness, which is just wonderful. And really what the ultimate goal is. So you can't really address the body without addressing the emotions. You can't address the body without addressing the spirit. And you can't address the spirit without acknowledging and honoring and taking care of the body. It just, all of it is so inextricably tied together. Okay, so that's the first big thing that I really have become convicted in. And the second piece of that is that it really all comes down to chemistry. We really are walking, talking chemistry labs. Everything that happens in the body and even in the mind is it's all tied up in chemistry, that we have billions and billions of chemical reactions every single second in every single one of our 37.2 trillion cells in our body. It really is just mind blowing when you start to even try to get your head around it. Just just how much chemistry is happening in our bodies. And this is why essential oils are so unbelievably effective. When you have a potent, pure um, essential oil, what you have is a potent, pure chemistry that is very powerful and able to go to work immediately within the cells to create happy responses and happy outcomes. Food is chemistry, synthetic medications are chemistry, emotions are chemistry, energy is chemistry. So all of it is chemistry. So your body is made up of intelligent cells. You'll remember I just said 37.2 trillion cells that are wired to restore health. And cells have 5 basic needs in order to operate optimally. And that's a whole nother class. I love to teach that class. It's called the 5 Pillars of Cellular Health. But today, we're really going to focus on the 2 of those pillars, which are nourishment and waste and toxin removal. Those are keys to having cells operating optimally. Like I said, emotions, they are chemistry. They are energy in motion, and they are information carrying molecules that bind to and react with cell receptors. So each of our cells have hundreds of thousands of cell receptors on the outside, as indicated by that little red Y looking thing on the outside of that cell. And they bind with those cell receptors, and then they penetrate the cell and impact the cell function and behavior. And one of the beautiful things about essential oils is they help a cell remember how to operate perfectly. That's something that Dr. Susan Lawton says all of the time. Emotions are processed throughout the body. We have what are called the three brains, that science has revealed this complex neural processing function in the mind, heart, and gut. So these three brains, first, we have the mind, which is our logic and our intellect. The subconscious mind directs over 90% of behavior. And what I learned in my muscle testing academy is that it's actually about 97% of our life is created by our subconscious. Um, and then we have our heart, which is another one of the brains in our body. It's where our intuition lies. And it's so cool to recognize and realize that there are more neural pathways that run from the heart to the brain than there are that run from the brain to the heart. So that tells you what a powerful brain the heart really is. It really affects so much, especially when we have clear flow between the heart and the brain or the mind. How much it really affects. And then we have our gut, which is your large and your small intestine. 90% of the body's serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter involved in mood management, is produced in the gut. And between the gut and the mind, we have this vagus nerve, which is our gut-brain connection. The gut and the mind are completely inextricably linked. And so when we've got a slow, sluggish gut that's junked up with all sorts of nonsense, we have a slow, sluggish mind. Depression, Asperger's, Alzheimer's, all of those things have really been demonstrated through science to be linked to the gut. So as a holistic wellness coach, anytime that I'm working with somebody, whether they're having symptoms that are cropping up physically or symptoms that are cropping up for them emotionally, we always start with the gut. Always. These three brains communicate with each other. They feed back to and therefore influence the mind. So we just want good, happy, free flow between those three brains. So, like I said, we always start with the gut, making sure that we get it cleansed and running clearly, running freely. Gut cleansing restores clear thinking and improves mood. Digestive function is scientifically linked to mood. You'll remember that I shared that for my little boy, he was just such a digestive wreck for his first year particularly, but that really did continue on all of the way up through when he was 5.5 years old and we were introduced to doTERRA. He just struggled with constant constipation, fear over going to the bathroom. It was just miserable for him. So of course, his mind was just bogged down with anxiety and junk, just like his gut was. So doTERRA's cleanse is absolutely the best that I have ever personally used, and it just consistently gets amazing results. And that's something that you can search pretty easily on Google or even on doTERRA. Look for their 30-day cleanse protocol, and they go into detail on that there. Okay, so first we want to clear out the junk in the gut. And then secondly, we want to make sure that we're nourishing. Remember those 5 pillar needs of cellular health? Nourishment on a cellular level and cleansing on a cellular level. So doTERRA's Lifelong Vitality Pack is the nourishment on a cellular level that I recommend. These are minerals, vitamins, micronutrients, healthy fats that nourish the mind, nourish the cardiovascular, nourish every cell in the body, clinically demonstrated to have great impact on a cellular level. And the essential oils in this product help enhance the absorption of the nutrition on a cellular level. So those are absolutely 2 foundational products when you're looking at how to get your emotions and your moods and your mood, up to where you're wanting them to be. Nourish and cleanse. Okay, so your three brains instinctively process every life experience. And the couple of processes that I'm going to show you today, they really happen in like a millisecond. And so it's not, we're putting it out in pretty linear format just for the sake of being able to talk it through today. But these things typically happen, like in my mind, it just feels like they all happen at once. So we have an experience happening. And if you look at this woman, you can see that she's got some stuff going on, lots of needs going on that she's getting a little bit stressed out about here. So in her mind, she's having the thought process of got to figure this out. Her heart is sending the message throughout her body and to her mind, I feel overwhelmed. And her gut is feeling stuck, just that pit in the stomach feeling, right? So the way that that then translates into the the physical response is, so the chemistry has just been like flooded throughout her body. That's just like this really tense, overwhelmed chemistry, right? And that physically equals head tension in the mind, in the head, right? In the mind. Feelings of conflict in the heart, and having a little bit of that diarrhea, upset feeling in the stomach. That is how that process looks. And then what happens is it reaffirms these storylines, these beliefs that we have about ourselves. And in this case, in this example, she's watering that weed, that belief that I'm not good enough. And here is some truth for you. Our beliefs create our outcomes. They create our realities. And so this poor woman stuck in this cycle, she again and again and again will subconsciously create situations for herself to affirm to herself that she really is not good enough. So from the Muscle Testing Academy, here's how this process breaks down. So we have the 4 circles that just are our experience, okay? First circle is system. That's who you really are. It's your divine knowingness. It's truth. It's things as they really are, things as they really were, things as they really are yet to come. And in this circle, pain just exists. Pain is part of life. It's just part of this experience that we're having here on this walk, this mortal walk that we're on. Okay. The second circle is non-system. Okay. And this largely exists in our cortex. It's our interpretation about what happened. It's what we say about what happened. And this is where suffering resides, is in second circle. So pain just is, that's just a reality, but the suffering has to do with the judgments, the meanings, the assignments that we give to things that happen, the stories that we tell ourselves about what happened. And then that leads to our emotion, which you'll remember is energy in motion, okay? And then that leads to the fourth circle, which is our reaction. It's how we respond to all of it. And a lot of times that looks like fight, flight, or freeze. And then that reaction, whatever that is, then creates the next reality, the next truth of what happens, which then leads to our next story about what happened, which leads to our next emotion, which leads to our next response, which creates that whole scenario all over again. It just plays out in infinite different ways in our lives. So when we've got patterns, things in our life that just are kicking our butt, that we're like, why does that keep happening to me? Why do I keep attracting like jerks into my life? Why is it that I get so close to like having like major success and then it just all falls out from underneath me at the last minute? Those types of things that just play out again and again in our life, those all are linked to those subconscious storylines that are just looking to be validated. And so this is where, if we've got the chemistry of the emotion and the energy of the emotion and we leave that unaddressed, what happens is it perpetuates and festers, and it takes on physical form in disease and disorder. Those negative emotions all have very low energy, very low vibration, and disease and disorder have very low energy, very low vibration. That's where disease and disorder thrive. So you start to get a little bit of an idea of how it is that those are all connected. And here's the awesome thing. Um, if we can intervene in that moment when we recognize, when we become conscious that we're having like just a classic emotion for ourselves, um, if we can respond with a positive chemistry and uh, and apply that in that moment, we really do become empowered to change those negative cycles in our lives that we just are not happy with, that we don't like. So this is where the application of an oil like wild orange, for example, is just the ultimate uh, lift. It just feels so good. It smells so good. It's sunshine in a bottle. If we can, it gives us the real capacity to break those negative four circle cycles that we find ourselves in. So for myself, what I found is to be an amazing overall strategy, day in and day out, is a daily cleanse and nourish lifestyle. Okay, so that's the lifelong vitality every single day. It's taking your cleansing products every single day, like the Zendocrine, which is fantastic for your liver, which is the gatekeeper of everything that your body comes in contact with, everything that you come in contact with, whether it's toxins in the air that you're breathing, or toxins in the water, toxins in your food, all of that, toxins in your skincare products, all of that processes through the liver before it moves on elsewhere. And it's also interesting to note that your liver is where anger is stored in the body. So by using a great product like the Zendocrine on a daily basis, that really helps to cleanse the liver and to just keep things flowing physically and emotionally. Terrazyme is another one that every single day, multiple times a day, that's one that you really want to look at having as part of your daily strategy, as well as citrus essential oils in your water, just to keep the toxicity physically and the toxicity emotionally just flowing through the body. Drink lots of water and let it flow. Okay? Then, so that daily healthy lifestyle habit plus responsive essential oils. Now, this is what I mean by that. As you notice, like you become aware that, oh, I'm having, feelings of being overwhelmed, or I'm really anxious right now, as you respond to that with an essential oil that either you're just drawn to or that you have looked up and read in the emotions book is amazing for that particular emotion. That just is like the 1-2 punch together. So you're laying the amazing foundation with your daily habits, and then you're responding as needed to the different negative emotions that come up. And then you are engaged in your ongoing emotional or energetic work to bring those experiences with the negative energy and emotion that's attached to them up into the light, so that they can just dissipate and not have the power and control over you anymore. Those three pieces together equal healing and a new way of being. And that, my friends, is truth. All right, so why would we choose to use essential oils to manage mood? Well, first of all, because they are natural and they're safe. When we're using a beyond organic grade essential oil like doTERRA, they're natural and they're safe. They generate very quick responses because the body doesn't need to convert them. It recognizes them. They're designed by the same designer as our bodies are designed by. So the molecular structure is very similar, and it just fits and it works together very, very quickly. And it's just a simple, feel-good way to manage emotions without the nasty side effects of some of the other chemistries available on the market today. So emotions and essential oils interact chemically. So you'll remember that I shared with you we have 37.2 trillion cells in the body, and each of those cells has hundreds of thousands of receptors on on their surface. And so this is the beauty of essential oils. One drop has 40 million trillion molecules, which are chemical compounds that are able to service every cell in the body in a matter of minutes. That is powerful. That is powerful. You just will not find a synthetic that is able to do that. Okay, so how do we use those essential oils? We use them aromatically. Quickest way into the brain, quickest way to impact emotions is through the nose into the brain. It's just an instant response. We use them topically, locally over the area that's needing attention. So a lot of times, if I'm feeling particularly anxious and I just feel that tightness in my chest, I will apply whatever the essential oil is, whether it's forgive or cheer or balance or frankincense or wild orange, just right over my heart area. If I'm like really worked up about something and my stomach is upset, then I will apply something like peppermint topically over my belly, and maybe even go on to that third strategy of internally, and drip it underneath my tongue, fill up my mouth with water, swish it throughout my mouth just so that it can permeate all of that soft tissue in my head and just open me up and calm me down. Aromatically, topically, internally. Those are the three ways that we use doTERRA essential oils. Smell is the fastest way to affect the mood. The aromatic molecules have direct access to the limbic area, which is the emotional seat of the brain. So, and that's also that part where those memories are stored. So when we smell something like wild orange, it always takes me back to a really happy vacation. My first time I ever got to go to Florida and drink fresh squeezed orange juice. It just takes me back there immediately, and it feels good. Essential oils are dynamic in supporting your body physically and emotionally. So a lot of times the physical and the emotional properties of essential oils run parallel to each other. So cypress, for example, is fantastic for circulation. People use that to improve circulation in their legs, for example, all of the time. But it's also fantastic for circulation emotionally. And so a lot of times it's pretty funny with cypress, particularly. You'll hear people talking about how they've just been crying like crazy over the last few days and they don't know what's going on. And so you ask them, so what have you been using? And they start telling you the different essential oils, and it comes up that they've been putting cypress oil on their legs for their veins. And it just is so funny. I've had that happen 2 different times where people are like, what? That's why I've been crying. That's why I've been such a wreck. They're dynamic. They have parallel physical and emotional properties in the body. It just makes them so powerful. So my own personal favorite strategy that I use, and I do this at least once a week, is I have my iTovi scanner, which it's just a little handheld device that hooks into an app on your phone. So super handy to transport anywhere. Just a handy little bioimpedance scanner, and it pulls up your essential oils that are needed to bring out of range biometric points back into range. And so it just gives you a list of recommendations. And then I use that in combination with my Emotions and Essential Oils book, which is just a remarkable resource. If you do not have this book yet, get this book now. Order it on Amazon is a great place to start looking for that book. And it's the brown cover is the most recent and current edition of it. Just absolutely fantastic. So I'll look up the oils that pull up on my iTovi scan and see what the emotional properties of those essential oils are. And I'm telling you, 100% of the time, it just nails it. And sometimes I don't know exactly what it is that's going on. Like this week, for example, I had white fir and Douglas fir, which both have a lot to do with generational patterns and healing generational patterns. That pulled up for me on Monday morning, and I didn't know exactly what the generational pattern was, but I thought about it for a little bit and came up with like my best guess of what that was. And as I applied those essential oils, I lovingly released that pattern. And then a couple of days later was in an energetic healing session where we got to the root of what it was that was going on. And that was exactly the generational pattern that I was looking at. It was really cool. And so I was able to release that and let that go, which is just amazing. So I love this strategy. The iTovi scanner is super consistent. Like if you scan yourself several times throughout one day and even over the course of a few days, it will oftentimes pull up the exact same essential oils, maybe changing out one of them. It's very, very consistent. My favorite by far. Okay, so let's look at some of the emotional blends that doTERRA has put together for us. Just absolutely wonderful. They have the emotional aromatherapy wheel, which comes with, you can buy these 6 essential oils in an emotional kit, an emotional aromatherapy kit. And then on the inside of the box, there's this wheel that helps you to wisely, excuse me, choose the essential oil that will best address the emotions that you're experiencing. So at the top of that wheel, for example, looking in the purple wheel, if you're feeling discouraged, Motivate would be an amazing essential oil for you to put on, and just speak kindness and goodness into yourself as you put that on and breathe it in. I typically will rub these like on my wrists and just lift my wrists up to my nose while I'm rubbing them in. Inhale deeply, and then speak, speak whatever affirmation it is that I feel called to speak. Coming down around to the 3 o'clock position on that purple wheel, if you're just feeling disinterested or bored or just somber and you don't really know what's going on, cheer or passion would be great starting points for you. The chemistries specifically address those emotions. Down towards the bottom, you're feeling angry, you're feeling bitter, forgive is amazing, and you can just lovingly release that experience. I lovingly release that person. I turn them over to the care of their creator, and I am free, they are free. Something like that would be a great thing to say when you're releasing those types of feelings. When you're feeling ashamed, oh my goodness, there's forgiveness that is needed there for yourself. You can speak forgiveness into yourself as you rub that chemistry into your wrists and inhale deeply. Console, amazing for when you're grieving, when you're hurt, when you're worried. Peace is absolutely fantastic when you're just feeling not at peace, when you're feeling a lack of peace, whether that's fearfulness or feeling anxious. That's just fantastic. These are powerful, powerful chemistries that just smell absolutely amazing. Okay, kicking it a little bit more old school. doTERRA has their mood matrix with their 4 original mood blends that they created, and this is a really powerful tool as well. Up and down, you're looking at the physical feelings, and from side to side, you're looking at what the emotion is that accommodates that. So when you're just feeling tired and you're overwhelmed and stressed out, that would fall in that fatigued and lack of peace quadrant, the upper left quadrant of the mood matrix. Serenity is a great choice for that. When you're feeling just so tired and unmotivated, that top right quadrant is amazing with citrus bliss, invigorating, stimulating, motivating. Bottom right quadrant is for when you are just like unmotivated and so stressed out. Elevation inspires, encourages, and lifts the mood. Bottom left quadrant, when you just have got no peace and you are stressed out. Balance is seriously amazing. It's just so fantastic. It's grounding, reassuring, and consoling. So, briefly, I just want to share with you some of the thoughts from this Essential Oils and Emotions book that I showed you a few slides ago. Um, Daniel McDonald, in this book, he talks about how essential oils raise the vibration of our physical body. As the body lives in higher vibrations, lower energies, such as suppressed emotions, become unbearable. The body wants to release these feelings. Stagnant anger, sadness, grief, judgment, and low self-worth cannot exist in an environment of balance and peace, which essential oils help to create. Emotional healing occurs as old feelings surface and release. Sometimes this experience is confused with regression. I know I have certainly felt that before, like I feel like I'm going backwards, but really what is happening is that the essential oils are working. We are so used to symptomatic healing that we have become conditioned to view healing as the immediate cessation of all physical and emotional pain. In reality, the oils are working. They are working to permanently heal emotional issues by supporting individuals through their healing. So in order to really heal, we need to release trapped negative emotions and then receive new positive feelings. The old has to go so that we can make space for the new. We often want to skip this step because, in all honesty, it's painful, but it's a necessary one. We must be willing to experience the cleansing if we truly desire healing. Resisting the cleansing process makes healing more painful. We must surrender to the experience so that we may continue on the path of healing. The more we let go and trust, the more enjoyable this healing process can be. So he then goes on to liken, he likens emotions to a garden, okay? And either weeds or flowers, right? So in a garden, especially when we've got hard, rocky soil, it's really hard to pull those negative emotions out, those weeds out, and especially to get the full root, which is what is needed in order to get full resolution. So he likens essential oils to water. It's like watering that hard, rocky soil so that you can pull the entire root out of that garden and cleanse the garden of that weed. That is what essential oils do for the mind, body, and spirit. They are water to that soil so that you can fully grab hold of that nasty emotion and pull it out by the root and be done with it and find true healing. So some great questions are, what do I need to weed out? What are the negative thoughts, relationships, and substances that it's in my best interest to let go of? What do I want to plant? What are the new beliefs, the relationships, the new supplements and nourishment that I want to put in that space instead? And how will I then nourish the seed? What habits, practices, and patterns, like affirmations, am I going to add to my daily habits? You fill a bucket drop by drop. You clear your mind thought by thought. You heal yourself moment by moment. This is truth. So here are some amazing resources that you might want to look at on your own beautiful journey of discovery of emotional healing. My two favorites that I just have so much experience with are on the right-hand side there. Emotions and Essential Oils, absolutely a must-have. And then Louise Hay, Heal Your Body, absolutely a must-have. She goes through and lists out all of the different diseases and disorders and then links them to a specific emotion, and then takes it a step further by giving you an affirmation that you can use in releasing that negative emotion that's at the root of that physical ailment. So, like I said at the beginning of this, I just love to share hope, healing, and empowerment with anyone and everyone who is really ready to do the work to get on the path to living in greater vibrancy in their mind, their body, and their spirit. This is my information. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any further questions. I would love to talk. And just be aware that you can be your own best advocate and truly claim the gift of wellness. So at the end of this here, I have been asked to share with you a little bit about loyalty rewards. This is doTERRA's frequent flyer program, basically, where you have the opportunity to sign up in your back office when you go into your mydoterra.com account and click on shop. It brings you into where you're able to create a new LRP, which stands for loyalty rewards, or create a one-time standard order. I always recommend ordering on loyalty rewards because this is where you earn a percentage of what you spend. You earn it back in the form of points for your next month's purchase, which is just the coolest thing. It's a great way to really step into a cleanse and restore hope, wholeness, healing lifestyle. So because I've already got a loyalty rewards order set up, I'm going to just click on this little tab right here, and it'll take me into what I currently have got in there. So every single month, I have the ability to edit where it's being shipped to, edit what the payment information is, what credit card it's being billed to, change the email that it's going, that confirmation is being sent to, and change the date on which it will process. It's always wise to have this process before the 15th of the month, because then you get a double bonus of when you order more than 125 product value or point value points, you receive the free product of the month, which is just another way to enhance your savings and your value. So in here, I always recommend donating to Healing Hands. It just is doTERRA's philanthropic leg, their arm that they use to build freshwater wells in Haiti, or new schools in Africa, new healthcare clinics in Guatemala, a new forensics lab in Thailand to assist the police there, and child sex trafficking organizations that are fighting against that child sex trafficking. This is the best $1 you will spend in the month. Okay, and then I just add in there those products that I use again and again and again. So typically, like my Lifelong Vitality, let's go ahead and add that in. You can just start typing in into this white box what it is that you're wanting, and I'm going to add to that the Lifelong Vitality pack. Okay, and then you're going to see that that gives me an option to edit this kit. Okay, and so I can come in and choose up to 3 additions for a really smoking deal of what I want to add to that. So I'm going to add the Terrazyme because I use that all of the time. And then the PB Assist, the Probiotic Assist, is so helpful in having a healthy balance in your gut flora. So I'm going to add those in there, and then I can come in here and I can cleanse out. Okay, yeah, I don't need geranium this month, so I'm going to go ahead and cleanse that out. You can edit this as much as you want up to 24 hours before it is scheduled to process. So since this one is scheduled to process on the 28th, my recommendation is that you would be in sometime on the 26th, making any final changes to it that you wanted. You can even change the date that it's going to process at that point in time and push it out to whatever date it is that you want. Okay, what else am I going to change out? Melaleuca, I use that all of the time. It's time to restock on my non-toxic conditioner and shampoo. So perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave this as it is. It's 261 PV. So I'm just looking at this column right here to see what the point value, the product value is for these, as opposed to the price, which is sometimes going to be a little bit different. So Sandocrine, for example, costs $24.50, but I get 21.5 PV. And then that all just adds up down here to create this number. This is the number that you want to have be 125 if you're processing before the 15th so that you can get that free product of the month. And oftentimes there is a monthly promotion where if you purchase over 200 PV, you get a free bottle of oil. So for like the month of June, for example, it's the free bottle of Immortelle, which is just an amazing gift. And then right down here, see my remaining rewards points? This means I have 41 points that I can apply to any of these things up here. So these little select buttons imply, they let me know that I could get my Melaleuca for free and my Purify for free. And so I typically just try to figure out how to get the closest that I can to that 41.06 so that I'm using that. And then it charges me $3 to redeem up to 100 PV. So I may just let that sit there until next month when I'm closer to 100 PV. So that I can get my very best value on that. And then also I have the option of checking this box right here to use my $7.48 I have sitting in my AR account, which is just money that has been earned on my account. So once I've got that all done, since I'm not processing that today, I'm not going to click on either of those right now because it will prompt me to process right now. But just I want to make sure that I hit save changes. Oh, and before I do that, I'm going to show you over here. Let's see, I'll do that. We'll see what happens. Okay, so save changes. And then if I come back in here again really quick, I'll just show you the way that this all breaks down. So your shipping is reimbursed to you when you order on the loyalty rewards points in the form of your rewards points down here. So like I'm going to spend $7 on my standard 2 to 3 business days shipping. And so next month, I will have 7 more points in my points that I can redeem to reimburse me for my shipping, which is super cool. Always be sure to check that this is for personal consumption. That's how you end up getting taxed at the wholesale prices as opposed to getting taxed on the retail prices, which are 25% higher than the wholesale prices. So that's quite a savings between those two. And then that will just automatically process on the 28th. But if I want to go ahead and have it processed now, I could hit continue, and then it would allow me to process it right the second if I wanted to. So that's a little bit about loyalty rewards. This is a program that if you are serious about getting healthy, finding healing, you really want to be on this with your, at the very least, your monthly vitamins and your monthly cleanse products. And typically I have a bottle of wild orange in there as well, because that is the one I go through the fastest. I am always diffusing wild orange in my home. All right. So let's come back over here to the PowerPoint. And I'm going to just share with you just a little bit about the business. doTERRA has an amazing business opportunity. And the reason that I share is just because a lot of times people are a little bit curious about it. So basically, when you have an ongoing order of 100 points or more, that makes you eligible to receive commissions checks. And doTERRA's commissions are truly the most generous that I have seen. You earn 20% of every product value that you share or that you help somebody else to buy when you help somebody else enroll in doTERRA. And so my tip for you today is just that you uh, listen, pay attention to the people around you and what it is that ways that their life is just needing to be blessed, whether it's they've got a little boy who's struggling with anxiety and they're just needing some help. You can totally share the gift of hope, healing, and empowerment with them simply by saying, oh my goodness, have you tried essential oils? I have a friend who was able to really successfully help her little boy with his anxiety um, with essential oils. And then you just talk about it and share it. Who would not want this information? And what's really amazing is that in your team, in your group, you have mentors, the people who signed you up likely are people who are able to answer questions if you just feel like you're not able to. So you can refer your friends to me, you can refer them to anybody in your upline so that they can get the answers that they are looking for. And then you receive this awesome little check that increases your ability to help and serve and to share light and goodness in your daily walk. So my business tip for you today is get that 100 product value order on loyalty rewards so that you can be eligible to receive commissions, and then just share the light. Be open about what it is that you're doing. Have a heart that hears and looks for ways that you can help other people, and it just naturally falls into place. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining with me today. I so honor you in your journey and just wish you the very best. So thank you, thank you. Blessings.